Well, basically, I think it's fun to make things that are interesting to look at. I think it's a great idea to be able to take things, put them in a new context, so you can see familiar objects in a new way. The name of this piece is Aesthetic Contraption. The reason I like it is because I had this big aluminum ring lying around the studio taking up room for many years, and I finally did something with it.
Larry Ellingson is a man who loves his music and his art. Since his retirement in 2005 from Inland Audiovisual in Spokane, he's been spending his time creating both three-dimensional art and multi-dimensional music that is geared primarily to fulfill his penchant for creation.
My dad bought Inland Audiovisual in 1953 from a couple of World War II vets that started in '46. We had a production division at Inland Audiovisual, and we produced these big slideshows, like up to 12 projectors. And I created the soundtracks for those and even created music for them. In fact, my very first music project was for a local public television station called KSPS. It kind of went... Given a chunk of film that was being worked on by Alpha Cine in Seattle, and they sent me the 16mm film, and I counted each frame out, and I used my synthesizer and my 4-channel tape recorder to create the music for that. That was my very first commercial project. I had quite a background in doing commercial music, but during that whole time I owned and managed Inland Audiovisual Company. It was quite a set of hats to be wearing at the time.
Having grown up with an interest in music, from playing clarinet and alto saxophone in high school, to a short stint in the early 1960s playing tenor sax for a rock and roll group with friends from Rogers High School, Larry now can be found frequently making music in between his time of creating art.
I worked on a project about a year ago with my friend Timothy Ely, who lives in Colfax, but he's lived all over the country, and he is a maker of rare books. And we collaborated on a project called Score. What he did was he created 6 drawings that then I interpreted them musically. And each piece is about 6 or 7 minutes. And it involves everything from found sound to using computer digital plug-in instruments that basically can sound like just about anything. In that case, I had something that I was definitely working for, and that was to realize these visual scores as pieces of music. What I have here are a lot of small synthesizers that are all self-contained. They can all be played individually, but what I'm doing is I'm getting them all working together. And I have kind of a central brain, and that's this unit right here, which is called a sequencer. And I have different channels that I play into it, and then it happens immediately.
By taking his penchant for progressive rock from groups like Yes, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and one of his favorites, Tangerine Dream, Larry has managed to create his own electronic music that he says he would be doing just like his art pieces, regardless of there being a commercial avenue for the work.
I really didn't start doing any fine art until about 2002. So I'm a relatively late bloomer in this area, and I just was very gratified that the work that I did seemed to find an audience fairly quickly. And that's a really nice thing, especially because I was just making art for me. I wasn't really trying to make it for an imagined audience. Often the way that I work is that I lay things out on a table or a stand or on my workbench. And then I kind of compose it that way, and I get things placed at a point where I think, okay, this looks pretty good. Then I take a photograph of it. The reason that I take the photograph is that all these elements are going to come out of this, and they're going to get processed, worked on, and then I'm going to need to get them back to the point where I composed them. I've done that for years. It's really, really easy now with the iPhone. And I'm inspired by the objects that I have around me. I use objects as the source of my material. That's my palette, is junk. and discarded things, and I alter them a little bit, and I rearrange them in different ways to make it come together, and I use exactly the same technique when I'm creating sound. But I think what draws people to my art is the medium itself sticks out. It is not flat art. It literally sticks out from the wall. It has dimension to it, and I always try to put something in it that's a little bit surprising. Well, the reason that I create art, I think the real reason is that I can't not create art. I just need to do something. There's never a sense of, now I've accomplished that. No, the drive is always there to move forward and make more art.